right? Okay, well, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here in Monterrey once again, face to face at Alacero. And today I am going to moderate a panel on construction, which we know that sustainable construction and fast, efficient construction that is cleaner is gaining more and more space in the world and also Latin America. And for us at the siderurgic industry, it is a market growth opportunity because sustainable construction still plays an important role and it's gaining space. And we have notable examples. And today we have two highlight examples and how the value chain is growing in the construction market, where we are gaining space from traditional construction and or we are replacing it or complementing it, but we are also gaining market share in the construction market because reasonably it is faster, it's cleaner, it produces less waste, it's easier to correct, it's easier to intervene, and once its life cycle is done, it's recyclable. So I have the joy and the pleasure of presenting two examples, one in Brazil and another in Argentina, with companies with different backgrounds but who have been successful in the construction and the steel market. One is Brasilo Cubo, and Ricardo Mateos, who is here with us today, who is an entrepreneur who started as a welder engineer, but he did metallic structures and he managed to do an important company. He attracted capitals in the siderurgical industry and today is expanding internationally as well. And so we also have Luca Salvatore, who is also an entrepreneur. He's almost an engineer. He didn't save for one subject, but he was dedicated to transforming a family business, and he will tell us everything he did. These are two success cases that are worth seeing, with innovation and the design that is very nice and attractive that is getting here to Alacero. So please, Ricardo, go ahead with your presentation and welcome. Thank you very much. Well, I'm going to speak Portuguese. I'm going to try and talk pausely so that you can have it clearer. And as we mentioned, my name is Ricardo Mateos, and I am the founder of Brasilo Cubo. Brasilo Cubo is a company that understood that most of the industries was more advanced than the professional question, and they're going to make more sense to look for something. So we had the chance of working in smaller things, taking it to a factory, and then having a larger scale in the construction. But for that, we have a video to give us more context on the sustainability of our business. I think we're just missing the sound here. Hola, hi, my name is Ricardo Mateos, and I'm a specialist in metallic and co-founder of Brasil Cubo. I am here today to invite you to know a little bit more about the areas of action of our company, the market segments, and the way in which we are surprising the civil construction market in Brazil. So we are currently acting in four market segments. These are industrial, residential, hospital, and the newest one, these are multiple story floors. In Brasilo Cuba, we use different construction techniques under the same DNA, constructing agile solutions. For each project, the best solution, whether it is modular, industrialized, prefabricated, or executed in the traditional way. We use our technical team with more than 100 engineers and architects to develop and execute the most diverse works for industries to hospital to residents to buildings. They're all designed and compatibilized, planned and executed with or from the infrastructure to their finishing touches. Thanks to our team of over 1,000 collaborators acting in each of the corners of our country. Our pioneering and the will of making things happen into connecting Brasilo Cubo's history to the civil construction in Brazil. After surprising the market with works executed in record times with the building of hospitals in each one of the corners of our country. Sometimes the residences of high value with executed with our team is clear that it's a lightweight building, an A-story building fabricated and installed in only 100 days. We advance strong in the most pushing segment in our economy. Industrial works and portuary industry have gained more and more strength in our industry in the cellulose segments, the mining, pharmaceutical industries, and also the beer and the brewing. They gain notoriety over here, and we are currently consolidated in these segments. From the point that here at San Luis de Marañón we had over 50,000 square meters executed in only 2 months in the Port of Santos, and the cellulose warehouses were able to be erected in our capacity of reinventing in each one of the new phases in our company. Now, in the segments of the brewing companies, big warehouses were directed for the four corners of our country. And to highlight, we have in San Luis de Marañón, Aracaju, Ibelandia, with over 20,000 square meters that were executed in an incredible 120 days. That is how Brasilo Cubo is continuing to write its history, strong in its value, impacting with excellence, and giving value to people. We have our commitments and guaranteeing the satisfaction of our clients. We share success and looking at our future. Over here, we believe in the industrialization of the civil construction in Brazil, and that's how we don't measure our efforts to make the future to be today. So thank you very much for listening to me today and give you a context on my company. We have a bit of our structure here. So here we have our founding partners. We had Dexco as a partner in 2019. We had an acceleration program with a capital of Gerdau. We had placement, and it accelerated the process for Brasilo Cubo, and it had a logic or made sense to buy some of our company, and so Gerdau is a stakeholder in our company, and that makes us so proud. Since 2016, we had our first sale. We had exponential growth with almost $85 million in sales in 2022. And actually, the company who was born in 2016 to 2021 grew fastly. Here we have some of our results, and it's interesting to see and highlight that since 2022, we are a company generating indeed some profit, and we have a very interesting profitability for the sector, reaching almost $6 million for this year. I'm going to skip through it very quickly because we have very little time. This is a work that we did in about 4,000 square meters, and it was done in Sao Paulo from a very in a very quick way. And how can we do this? Well, it's a lot because of pre-building or pre-construction, and it's actually our best knowledge, and we transform everything that it will be local but virtually so that we can anticipate to each of the eventual failures that we can have in an execution work for a work. So we have compatibilization of everything we do in the different 11 disciplines and hydro, sanitary, electrical, woodworking, and it's evident we have some of the 4D category in planning the works virtually until the point we have the pre-construction or pre-building. On the 14th day of the mounting, we were planning to have this module done at the exact time, and we did what we had foreseen. It's interesting, and that's because of what we have that in that pre-construction. This is a hospital we just delivered with about 150 days of fabrication and mounting. The manufacturing process was 78, installation was 34, and then a finalizing process. But what did we get, or how did we get this compatibilizing in our DNA in a more stronger way, in that we can see any problems we can have in our work? So the idea of Brazilo Cubo is to have a maximum saving of the construction working so that we can have a more evident process. This video gives us a very good context. You are right. We have one of the modules that is part of the modules fabricated with the PPCI, hydrosanitary, electrical, the different bases for the hospitals, and here is part of the infrastructure. Over here in the video we can see a track to transport a block of the building to one place, so it makes it faster to build. Here we have some of the finishing touches and how this work was finished. And I will skip faster through it. We're about to finish, but this is how it happens. It goes through different cranes with a one single block, and everything else is finalized over there with a plug and play system. And we assemble one module after the other, and it was done in 35 days. This one is a bit faster because we are short in time, but it's exactly that. These are blocks that we can move through and mount one on top of the other. And I'm going to accelerate to show you one of the last steps. Here we have with Mexico Cubo, we have a part of our company that was formed in Brazil to develop here in Mexico. They're actually doing operations in Mexico City for the internationalization process so that we can, in fact, evolve with the production line in housing and buildings here in Mexico. That is the module for this house that is being the prototype. It was validated. For next week, it will be ready, and we are already in Mexico City. So this is a work done in small parts that we can then transport and do the installation of the work, so that we can have a much decentralized process in about 40 days. So I will go faster. Thank you very much for your attention. That is very impressive, Ricardo. It was, and congratulations also on coming back to Mexico. So, Lucas, let's see if we can get the slideshow. Good morning. My name is Lucas Salvatore. I am the founding member of Lux Salvatore Group. I will start my presentation talking about the salmon this morning. And so there is, well, I'm going to start by telling you that there is a big change in the trends in construction. We are in the wake of a change of paradigm. This change is due to two main pillars. First one is the awareness of climate change. We are in a sector, the construction sector, for both commercial and residential. It generates 30% of the emissions of hydrocarbon, 20% of water contamination. Of course, this is not feasible, and the big companies and governments sustain goals to reduce the emission of CO2, but also the big investment funds that for so long did not listen to this topic, they are now investing in companies with a purpose of lowering the carbon footprint. The other big pillar to potentialize this shift in paradigm is the generational bridge. So I see three fundamental aspects with the generational change. The first one is a higher interest for the environment and sustainability from the new generations. The second is the loss of the traits in human beings. We are less skilled to continue manual building. And the main reason that I see on the midterm is how immediate things are. Nobody having less than 20 years is going to think of taking 2 or 3 years waiting for a house or a building. That is not feasible, just simply not feasible. And so there is an area of opportunity to take advantage of this shift in paradigm, because that doesn't have just the advantage of construction in the steel. It has less footprint. It's also recyclable, and also it's a solid sector with a very established value chain and focus on industrialization. So what we do over there, and in line with what I just mentioned, and Lidero, we focus on industry with architecture to have a triple impact work, creating job positions, training personnel, working with safer systems for them, building with less thermal generation so that we can save energy with a higher environmental impact, and achieving the integration of the chain, working with the main raw material manufacturers like Gerdau, Saint-Gobain, and other manufacturers, so that the price product or relationship for our clients is better. So I will show some product lines that we have, like the Casas Mias line and the Van den Rohe, where we potentialize the different designs in the different steel structures as a part of the value offer for the infrastructure. One of the big advantages I don't usually mention with this structure is having a precise skeleton part is the key to precise one project after the other. And we also work, just like Brazil Cubo, we work with VIN methodology. It's completely integrated, that allows for a model that is exactly built as it was designed. I will move through it faster. We have three lines of houses. We have three models, and we are currently working on 24 houses with different models, premium models, that were built for the end customer with all the complexity that it entails. We have the Sable line. It's a more of a Nordic home. It's more like a barn type. It's built in farther places. We have the modular line, the Zoom box, which is for hotel and office buildings, to do home office and to make hotel complexes in different parts. During the pandemic, we saw the potentialization of this building. We assembled a company with assembled a strategy with 5 different companies. We built 15 emergency modules that were carried out in 40 hours straight from the time we got there to when we left. We always thought about taking the parts and assemble them versus transporting them in 3D. So the UN qualified us. We did 12 emergency hospitals for the UN in Argentina, about 501,000 square meters. Here is 500, executed in 90 straight days with full installations and facilities. We have some other examples over here.
Some years ago, 30 years ago, well, we started doing this type of constructions, and I brought this to show it with architectonic value we have for exhibitions, for sports, and this is a sports arena that has 90 square meters of light, and this is an opening that can be either opened or closed. This is a steel structure that has been with 70 curved centimeters in floor 12, and this is the architecture that we can see. This is the construction that we did in the city of Buenos Aires. This is part of the structure and the value and the integration. From this structure was to integrate this change so that we could achieve this for the end user. So when we did this, we realized that the architect was not prepared, and the Argentinian market, at least the research, was not prepared to use steel, and this was not something that we could do. So we have these steel structures with the use of concrete, and another similar one is 7 buildings from both sides with the entire structure that is transparent, and we can see that is the vertical and the horizontal lines are highlighted with this structure. And here, this is building that was in Vaca Muerta. This is a very interesting example because this was in November 2019, and in March 2020 we started with the pandemic, and well, it started in Argentina as well, so the project was changed and we were not able to work in the construction, so we designed it and we did it in the workshop, and with the logic with the movable bricks and movable sections. And well, there we needed to take into account these floor because it was a seismic area, and when the pandemic was over we could install it and finish it. Here we have 144 people living there, and they belong to the oil industry. Now we are starting with 2 more buildings with the same technology, and we are going to start 17 more buildings with the modular technology that we've seen before. This is an example of a sports club in Puerto del Lago where we had 4 different interventions. One of them is a mall with Sky Park, a bar, a semi-Olympic pool, and a polo sports area. Here we have a building in the same complex where we found some flexibility with steel with 12 meters of light, and thanks to this flexibility we were going to have offices in the bottom part and a terrace in the upper part, and we needed to change some things of the project. Here we can see that we went back to the precision, so we have pre-manufactured sections and then we put them together. Here, this is a structure in Costa Negra. This is a building that is a dining area for a school. This is similar to the front structure that we saw before. This is other buildings that we are doing in the capital. The next Aidero building, this construction started last week. Here we are highlighting the vertical lines. Here we have double V structure. Here we have another structure in Palermo, 12-story building. And I left this project for the end, which is 45,000 square meters. This is a metallic complex. It's the biggest in Argentina, the one that we have, and we are creating the engineering to be able to build it. I'm going to show a brief video that shows part of what we just created. And to finish, we know that we are business people and we have real estate. And well, I wanted to mention this because we wanted to generate a developing company integrating the part with the clients so that we can get to the end user. So we have 7 business units, we have 33 production plants, we have over 250 workers, and we are a big family. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lucas. It was amazing. The design, the previous necessary engineering, the mounting, and I know that the video was very fast, but it was in fast motion, but it's very fast to work with pre-manufactured modules. So, from the presentation, I have several questions. The first one is for you, Ricardo. You talked about Brazil ao cubo and now Mexico ao cubo, and the translation for Mexico is that. But the project is already launched in Mexico, right? So, what's the part of the project that you're in? Yes, we need to bring that to Mexico because it's part of what we have in Brazil and bring it to Mexico. This is an operation that is already being carried out and it started like 40 days ago. And next week we possibly will have this prototype ready. So I believe that we can launch that to the market so that we can create and perform sales with what has been completely done in Mexico. We also have the engineering that was previously done in Brazil and all the projects that were carried out in Brazil, but the part of the operations was with workers in Mexico, and there was one person from Brazil that worked with the management as well. But next year we will be working in residences and the construction, and we're going to be bringing this to Mexico. Yes, we're working on the prototype and we're working with the vendors here in Mexico. They're very well developed actually. And next year we will start in the market so that we can start developing the company that is Mexico. And now talking about the family residences, Lucas, you need to work with architecture and engineering together. So what are the things that an end user is trying to find in construction? What is the most attractive for the market and the one that you use the most? Well, nowadays, most of our clients, if I wanted to just mention manufacturer, they're looking for certainty. They're looking for certain methods with more certain times, certain quality, and of course, they're looking for sustainability as well. But I believe that in a country that that is lacking a lot of certainty, I think that the client is trying to find faster methods, of course, but with a lot of certainty, with less problems, and they're going to find this render. They're going to value that the most in our value proposition. So this is what is the design is most similar to the final design, right? They need to like the design, but of course, knowing the real estate market, it's less likely to find this because the render needs to be similar to the final version, which is not very common. Now, you have different challenges. In your case, you're interested in working with entrepreneurs. You have a very strong support from the steel industry. So, how did you start this project? What was the process? Well, we thought that we wanted to work with the correct things. We needed to develop that and we needed to start working with the company very strongly. And with Gustavo Werneck, who brought this, he wanted to be connected with startups because we are more connected with clients this way. And this vision of the market, of having venture capital that is trying to link with different companies and have these results for both companies. we wanted to do this and we wanted to get accelerated in the acceleration program with the bank builders, which is a program and endeavor also has this to develop entrepreneurs, and these are companies that are growing above 25% per year, and these goes through a process so that we can develop ourselves as well. And in 2019 we're very happy to work with an accelerator and manager of this project, and we did a recruitment of 300 companies, then 15, then 8, and then we found 5 with the potential to bring what was happening in a place to the industry. So this scale was what made it possible, and we were able to work together, and they ended up with 40% of the company. And now in 2022 we are in a very favorable situation, in an exponential growth with Mexico al cubo, and we only want to thank them. Now, well, congratulations to Gerdau and to Brasil ao cubo for this experience. Lucas, in terms of classic metallic constructions to residencies and buildings, and you as an entrepreneur, you were transforming the company. Which are the main challenges that you need to do in a company to achieve that? Well, basically everything changed. We are some kind of startup within a company. 30 years ago, we started with the structures in steel, but 6 or 7 years ago, we also started with residencies, and we started by selling structures, steel structures for buildings in Mexico and the United States, and we understood that the market was not ready for that because they did not understand how to use steel. And most part of Latin America has that problem. We have professionals of the field and they're used to using concrete, and that's a huge challenge there. So we were trying to see the disgregation of the traditional industry with the final user and the one that is working with the project, and we saw there was a possibility to be part of this chain and to change what we produce. And the key part is the integration of the entire process. So we created a business unit, but also a new company, of course, supported by the existing company. But we changed. We started with 2 architects to 50. So now they're not bad, but they're strategic allies. So now you became a design company, right? Yes, we have our own line of products, which is designed by us, but we also work with different architects, the main ones in Argentina, and we worked with the design inside our company because now the market is not ready to be done outside. So we are trying to develop the constructions that we do on our own. So now I have a question for Ricardo, and I'm going to ask it to both of you because what the audience is interested in is how much a traditional construction cost in comparison to what you design, for example, for a residence. What's the difference in costs in both systems, which is what you're saying? Well, there are several differences in the construction model where Brasil El Cubo is working with. And we also are working in not only in a volumetric modular way where we have a module within a factory and then we take it and put it together. There are also parametric, which are the metallic constructions, and then we put it together. So we try to do it in a factory, and then we install them, and we have a cost that is 15% above the conventional model. But we also believe that the operational excellency of the factory element is also similar to the prices that we try to bring, and this is when we bring the production engineerings, all the elements that we need to have a more assertive production line and more in time. And now talking about the traditional construction, do you have any earnings in time? Well, in the corporate sector, for example, in terms of a hospital that we just delivered, we need to get anticipated to a construction that would take around 20 months to 5 months. So this is a difference of 15 months in anticipation for a client. And for example, 50 beds in intensive care unit for a hospital is going to be much better in terms of an emergency. So we're talking about residencies. We have a reduced time frame that is 4 times before the traditional module. So it's much better to receive your home 4 times ahead of what is expected in a traditional module. And besides, the expected cost that is 15 or 20% above the traditional one. Well, we were working in the Argentinian market, and we worked with the designers to be able to agilize this module, and we were trying to get closer to the costs. We are in similar costs to the traditional module, and we are sometimes 10 or 15% above, maybe 10% below. But if we compare similar walls, or for example the double isolation, thermal isolation, we would be considering difference in price. But when we talk about the Argentinian market, we are trying to equal the prices, give it an advantage. And as Ricardo mentioned, for example, in Maca Muerta, where we have this type of lease where buildings are taking 3 years, then we are reducing it to just some months, and that's it. Well, thank you, Lucas and Ricardo. It's an example of how the steel industry is getting into the construction sector and how these changes are here to remain. And not just that, they're also accelerating what is going on. What we have seen in terms of buildings is very impressive in terms of the speed of construction, of the design. So thank you so much, and I hope that we can see your examples everywhere else. Thank you.